Right. Hi, everybody. I'm here with Katrina Collier, and we're talking recruiter enablement. So, Katrina, first of all, give us a quick introduction to you.
I forgot my book. Isn't that dreadful? There it is. It's there. I'm probably best known as the author of The Robot Proof Recruiter, which is the orange one up on my shelf. Isn't that shockingly unprofessional? But I'm also a facilitator and a speaker, and I spend most of my time empowering recruiters to be better at what they're doing. But I also get to work with hiring managers a lot, so that's fun.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. When you said I haven't got my book, I thought you were going to need your book of notes to remember who you are and do your introduction. But you're actually
At this
world
point,
famous in recruitment.
I'm world famous for that orange book.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So I always ask people this question: what is recruiter enablement to you?
Okay, it's slightly different to what it is to you. To me, it is about empowering that team so that they know that they can get the best experience for the candidate by properly partnering with the managers or the team that they're recruiting for. So to me, it's that they know that they can go in as the subject matter expert in recruitment and properly partner. That to me is the enablement piece. It's slightly different to what you talk about. But it's like getting the human side to go with all the tools and to make the tools work better. Hopefully.
Yeah. So okay,
Made sense in my head.
a bit about no, it does make sense. A bit of, and it is a bit different to the typical angle that I come at it
Mm-hmm.
with. However, I don't think it's at odds with it. I think it's an extension to it. And
It is.
you are I would describe you as somebody who is very, very savvy around tech and tools.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting that you wrote a book called The Robot Proof Recruiter.
Everyone thinks I
Considering
hate tech.
you actually love the tech,
And
and
I
you're very
saw that
savvy
list.
around the tech.
I saw that list that came out the other day, and I'm like, when am I going to end up on one of those lists? I'm totally savvy about the tech, but because of the book, they think I'm anti-tech. I'm not anti-tech. I'm anti how recruiters use the tech because of the experience they deliver to candidates because they're misusing it. So that's my issue, not the technology. I love it. Look at what we're doing.
Yeah,
We're having a chat on video. Like, I'm forever using tech. It's
I
how
mean,
you use it.
misuse of technology is absolutely rife. I completely agree with that. And we've
Yeah.
also got the wrong technologies in the wrong place for a lot of what we do in recruitment. And I entirely blame venture capitalists for that
Yeah.
and misguided founders.
Yeah.
But let's go a bit more into the what you said around. It's more about the recruiters need to understand
Mm-hmm.
precisely what is required,
Yeah.
and let's go into a bit of the okay. What are some of the steps and tips and things that you recommend?
So, for example, you've just given me a sneak peek of your tool, which is very cool. See, I do like technology. And we were talking about the hiring manager commitment, for example. So you get a new requirement comes in and the recruiter needs to get that commitment from the hiring manager. They need the meeting. I mean, some of them can't even get a meeting. These managers won't turn up. So it's a case of you actually do get the meeting. It's then they will say to you without a shadow of doubt, Adam, I promise you I'm going to be back in 48 hours. And of course they're not because life gets in the way. So it's like asking the really powerful questions to really get their commitment. So
Yeah.
it's things like, what happens if we don't fill this role? What's the pressure on the team? Who else might leave? What project will fail? What promotion won't you get? Like really deep questions so that you can then turn around and say, Adam, you said you'd come back in 48 hours and you didn't. And you gave me the commitment. And the trouble with you not coming back is your team is going to explode. You're going to lose 2 more people because you told me that. So can you come back to me? And so it's like getting that human, almost like that tool to influence. I was going to say manipulate. That's really bad. But that you need the prod, like that thing to be able to chase. So there's sort of that side. And then really knowing the questions to ask. So you were showing me the amazing way it's going to help people fill out a job description, which is fantastic. And what I'm looking for is that, well, how are you going to know you feel? I think this is a Steve Levy question. How will you know that you've hired the right person at the end of 12 months? When you ask that question, you're looking forward and they're giving you all of this information that they probably haven't written on any form of a job description. And so it's like, it's getting that stuff that's going to stand out. And when you talk about the wrong technology, if you think of all the noise that all of the GPT toys That's hilarious. I called it that. But are about.
It's a Freudian
Because it does feel like that. I know. But all of that noise, that's all going to create those tools. And you need to be heard over that. You've got to be better at asking questions. So it's a case of like using what you're creating with a lot more almost AI-proof human skills.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of the questions that you've talked about there were, you used the word influence. They sound like the sorts of questions that I probably learned in like sales training. And that would be done to be able to amplify things and make people feel a sense of delight or fear or whatever it is.
Motivate people.
All about, this is all about achieving influence with the hiring manager and
candidates
and with candidates. Okay. What do you recommend that you design some kind of a template for yourself? Do you recommend that you collaborate with your colleagues around what's worked for them? And what's the best way to get the best questions?
So exactly what you're saying is what's missing. And I see this time and time and time again, which is that empowering the team either from the shared knowledge. And this is where remote working can be tough. Like, I'm a huge fan of remote working. However, I think it can be tough to learn because like you overhear someone say, oh, wow, why did you use that question? Like, and everyone starts learning. So a lot more of those collaborative sessions to say, well, why do you ask that question? How does that benefit? But it's also the empowerment piece. It's knowing that your head of whatever level they are has your back. So that if you do push back and if you do say, no, you're not going to speak to me like that, or no, you're not going to take 3 weeks to come back on that requirement or those CVs, that they've got you back as well. But that shared learning, there's been a loss of that with, oh, well, here you are. Here's LinkedIn Recruiter. Go on, send some emails. You'll be right. And it's like, and by it being that way for so long, there's so much noise that recruiters are trying to cut through that they need to go back to the basics, which I've been saying for years, as you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you think that like the concept of people working from like home or working from other places, do you think that's had a detrimental effect on our ability to like learn from each other and collaborate? Or actually, is it giving us focus time because we get together like this and talk one-to-one more than we did? Or what's your thoughts about that?
So it depends on the individual. So I'm a very loud introvert, so I love being home by myself and walking in silence, but I'm also a lot older. So it's a lot easier for me. I learned all of that stuff that say the 20 somethings, I learned that in the office and now I'm using it and I can do that independently. So I think there's a call for both. I mean, I am quite a fan of people going in some of the time. And when I do my design thinking workshops, oh my goodness, I mean, they have to be in person. You can do them online. They're not the same. Because it's those little moments in between. It's the moment in the hall of grabbing the coffee where someone shares something which is life-changing. And you're like, oh my gosh. So that's weird. My screen just went blank. Oh, there you are. I'm a big fan of both, except when the technology makes the screen go blank. It really does depend on the individual team. And I think this is where it's really tough for leadership because they don't know how to manage like this.
You brought up the GPT toys as you described. Yeah,
that was funny. I missed that. I know, that really amuses me.
Overall comments.
Oh, I was
in terms of recruitment.
I was at the We Are Developers conference. I got to speak, which was such an honor. And I heard Tim Berners-Lee speak, and he is the founder of the internet. And if this man can stand up there and say, I'm deeply concerned about where the knowledge is going that we're plugging into GPT, I stand by my concern. Please stop putting your intellectual property into GPT readers. You do not know where it's going. You mentioned earlier that you're going to use these videos and have accredited. You're going to say, Katrina Collier said this. Right, that we're losing that. People are putting their knowledge into this machine and losing it, and there's no credit back. So, it's bad enough now that most of us who produce content have it stolen and borrowed, but usually you can kind of trace it back. So that's my main concern, but also the fact it produces stuff that's really vanilla. So right now, so as an author, you can imagine how annoyed I am by it. There's lots of books getting written really fast that are all written in GPT. And I think at some point people will go, no, We want to hear the real voice and the real person. A bit like we had those polished PR videos that nobody believed, and then we loved the real, taken on an iPhone, on the run, grunty, real content. People really crave that because it's genuine. So that's my take on it.
Point. I wonder
Can you imagine Tim Berners-Lee? He's kind of going, there's no net, there's no. So you write something in a Google Doc, it's personal, it's in your little bit. It doesn't go to Google, I hope.
You made me think of a couple of things there. You made me think that actually, once you start to believe this vanilla stuff that comes back to you, then the ability for whoever is behind, the person behind the person, the ability for them to just mind wash the entire planet is very high. The other thing is about the concept of books. Thinking about it now, we will the spoken word from a human on stage or on Zoom or whatever is actually probably going to become a lot more amplified because of people are probably going to lose a little bit of the efficacy of books is going to become all right.
I mean, I'm sitting here and as I told you, I'm writing my memoir, and it's taken me a long time to write 60,000 words, but there are people writing novels in a day using GPT, or I've seen recruitment books written with that, which is quite concerning. And I feel like we're going to have this amplification of noise, but if we take that back to recruiters, use your own voice, create your personal brand. I think the only way that people are really going to stand out is to fully sit in their own. This is me. I'm not AI generated. This is my opinion. This is why I have my opinion. And you become this voice that people trust. The people that you're recruiting trust. And I think that is so important because it's the only way anyone's going to stand out in the noise, and it's going to get mega noisy before it quietens off again.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, because we could talk, honestly, for anybody that's watching this, we spent 40 minutes talking about all sorts of different things before I actually pressed record on this. And the way we're talking now is actually not.
Are we at 40 minutes? Didn't you say it was 10-minute video and we're at 40 minutes?
No. We started talking 45 minutes ago. The last bit I wanted to ask about was like design thinking. Link between design thinking and recruiter enablement. What's the link? Because there is.
Oh my word! Oh, definitely. Because what you do with design thinking is you cut through the BS. And you really discover what your problems are. So it doesn't matter how you use the tool. But the best is, I mean, for example, here in this block of flats I live in, sorry, my dog is going a bit mental. We need a new elevator. And we had a 90-minute meeting that achieved nothing. And I could have run a process that would have got everybody to a decision within 90 minutes. And it's just sitting there going, oh. So in that respect, it's really great at getting to the real problem of what's going on. But where I've used it for, say, that partnership I was talking about, I mean, bless her, the HR professional who got me in, she already knew what the outcome needed to be of this workshop, but it was getting the technical manager to realize, actually, we need to grow our own professionals and we need to get our tech up to modern tech because we're in a really awkward location. We're on old tech. I'm trying to hire unicorns all the time. And it was getting them to realize that, to then be able to go on and use something like what you're creating. Because it was like there's this fundamental problem wasn't going to change. So it's quick for process. I love it. It's so much fun. Yeah, so much fun because you get people from baffled to a decision by the end of the day.
Well, you need to look into this, and you need to talk to Katrina about design thinking for your recruitment team, and buy the book.
Everybody needs their own copy though, because people write it. Plus, I donated my royalties to charity.
Yes, of course. Really great to see you. Thank you very much for joining me today, and talk to you again soon.